Hey guys, so just a short video catch up. I've been thinking a lot recently about identity, and I myself am going through quite a big transition at the moment, which I kind of wasn't expecting. Um, my son's about to turn 18, and it made me start to think about as a parent, you take on a new identity, and it's quite a subtle thing, so you don't really realize that it's happening at the time, but all of your focus goes towards someone other than yourself, in a totally different way to how that might have been for anything historic. Like, sure, we look after family or friends or parents, but when you actually look after a child, you're raising someone. You're kind of bringing them up for the first time. Everything's new. So a big transition happens when your children get to the stage where they're really, I guess in the eyes of the law, self-sufficient. They are an adult. And one of the things that I'm facing now is, okay, so who am I? Who am I? Who am I with an adult child? What do I now have more space for in my life as my son's moving into being far more independent? And it's not just about raising children. So you might be retiring, or you might have lost a major relationship in your life, or you might have been made redundant recently with the pandemic. So whatever you took on as your identity, your career, your being with another person, there would have been things that you did together, which maybe you might not want to do now. They're big shifts and changes where we really have to ask ourselves, okay, well, who am I if I'm not that person doing that thing? And these can be amazing times, because actually you can look at your life and say, what have I got space for now? And what are the things that I really want to be able to do that maybe I couldn't have been able to do before because of time or because of preferences? If you were with a partner, say for example, if you really wanted to go traveling, but they couldn't because of work. So there might be some things that all of a sudden you can do as a result of going through a massive shift. But also it can sometimes make us look at our health and well-being and say, well, you know what? This is a time where I really need to make sure that I am well, especially with this pandemic going on. You might have to suddenly change careers and do something a bit more active or less active. We've all been quite sedentary with the lockdown, so you might be suddenly thinking, you know what, that was a big shock for me to think that if my health isn't great, then I could be more at risk. And if I'm sat at home working from my desk, how can I make sure that I'm making time so that I am the healthiest version of me I can be? So identity shifts, they can just creep up completely out of the blue, or they can be things that you were expecting. Either way, they're brilliant opportunities to really have a look at what have you been doing that's unnecessary in your life, what have you outgrown. And you know, this is a process which is both you can enjoy that process of taking on new things and letting stuff go, but there also might be some sadness with that. If you've been that person for a long time and you're now moving into something completely different, there might well be a grieving process that has to happen as a result of that loss before you can move into feeling better again. And so it is important to have friends around you, maybe keep a journal, or kind of document how you're feeling. Have someone you can talk to offload. Maybe an impartial person, you know, it doesn't have to be a therapist, but there's loads of stuff online, resources, mental health groups. The internet's fantastic for stuff like that, where you can just talk to other people so that you're getting these things out of your head and giving yourself a bit more clarity about what's actually happening in your life. It's quite normal if you're going through a big transition to feel anxious or to feel depressed, because what was stable and known and familiar now is just either completely gone or is in a process of going. So that's going to bring up feelings of being unsure and uncertain in most people. And you might go through waves of thinking like, I've got this, and then waves of thinking like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So it's really important to have a community around you or friends around you that you can talk to, who don't necessarily have an opinion on what you're doing. This is where someone impartial is good, because they can just listen and you can just blah blah blah. And some of it might make sense and some of it might not, but the important thing is when you're going through a transition, don't be alone with it, okay? And if anyone wants to talk about any of those things through my services, go and have a look at my website, because I'm going to be talking about this quite a lot more over the coming weeks and months. I've started writing a blog on how we hold our past in our bodies. So this might be a good time to go and have a look at that, because I talk about how we make our choices from what we learned as children. And sometimes, say for example, like when a parent dies, or when we become a parent ourselves, or when we have adult children, we go to make choices again based on our past, and that might not be really helpful right now. So in my blog, I'm just kind of talking about how we can start to recognize, okay, when am I making unconscious choices that aren't helpful because I'm stressed, or when am I able to make choices which actually are going to serve me pretty well in the long term? So have a look. Any questions, drop me a message, and I'll speak to you guys soon.